All right, welcome back. We're discussing that 70s show. We're going to continue discussing that 70s show. 70s show. That 70s show. As we were last week, and we will continue this week. Now, anybody that's familiar with the podcast and our format, 1 week, Brian will host an episode and pick the topic and hold court, if you will, or host manage the direction of the show. And then the next week I will pick a topic and manage that direction of show with that host initiating a cold open question and the co-host signing us off. Well, with that 70 show, this one being a double episode, instead of the same person hosting twice, we each host. So Ryan hosted the first episode because this was his topic to introduce, and I'm going to host the second episode on it. Much like the first one, we're going to have another cold open question. But before we get to the cold open question, I do want to remind everybody, if you love or even like or tolerate or just okay with,
hopefully it's love, but
this podcast takes tokens. But if you love stickers, yes, I've got something for you. Show your love for this podcast and be one of the first to snag one of our exclusive first round stickers. We have 5 different designs. They are fantastic.
Good.
Here's how to get yourself one. Listen to the podcast on your preferred player of choice. Doesn't matter. You're listening right now, so we've got that out of the way. Leave us a review on either podcast platform, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's very important. Those are the only two that you can leave a written review on. So leave a written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Capture a screen grab of that written review and send us an email of that screen grab with your address, your mailing address, whatever that may be. It can be a post office box. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever address you enter in, that's where I'm going to send your sticker. If you send me an email address and no physical address, I'm just going to send you a picture. But you can send that to thispodcasttakestokens@gmail.com. That information will be in the show notes as well. And we will send you out a sticker absolutely for free. It's going to come through the mail, one little stamp in an envelope. It'll be all yours. We have 5 different designs. I'm going to pick a random one. I'm going to throw it in a box, and I'm going to send it your way. Do you want more than one sticker? Leave a review on both platforms. I will send you 2 stickers.
What a deal.
It's got to be a different review, though. It can't be the exact same review. You have to change it up just a little bit. Got to trick the algorithm. Act fast, because this offer ends December 31st, 2024, at the end of the year. Email us as soon as you list your review to ensure that nobody else takes credit for it. And remember, 1 sticker per unique review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you paid attention, you may notice a loophole in there where you could obtain all 5 if you really wanted to. But remember, 1 sticker per unique review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Get listening, reviewing, and sticker collecting. Yes, because there are 5 unique sticker designs, and I will send you random ones.
They're gorgeous. I love the
With that said, let's launch into this episode's cold open question. And my cold open question for you is kind of along the same formats as what we've been discussing, that 70 show. Mm-hmm. More specifically, if you could pick any 2 characters and any decade, what's your elevator pitch show? That blank show starring character A and character B. Who would that be?
Okay.
That is my cold open question to you. With that, let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
Welcome back, everybody. That 70 Show episode, we are doing part 2. If you were listening last week, then you caught the first part of our That 70 Show topic conversation. And we're just going to continue that this week. Sorry you had to wait a whole week. We did have this conversation back to back. So for us, it is it's all happening in real time. And for those of you at home, I'm sorry we had to split it out. That's just the way it goes. Nobody wants to sit through a 2.5 hour long episode. You may, and that's fine. You can just put these two back to back and you can have a nice 2.5 hour long episode if you wish. Just delay gratification until the second one comes out. Of course, you're not going to know that until after the second one comes out, but you can go back and listen again and put them both together and enjoy yourself. In the meantime, that's 70 Show Part 2. I don't have a... I was going to do what you did.
Oh, no.
We're hanging out.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that whenever we scheduled the episode.
Do it again.
I can't do it off the top of my head. We're hanging out down the street. I mean, down the street. We're down the street, like 78, 75, It's a long street, but we're hanging out about 600 some odd miles down the street. This is definitely the same old thing we did last week. It's just a slightly different topic, but yeah, that's 70 Show. We're going to continue talking about it.
I gotta tell you real quick. I was expecting you to do a, because we discussed this, we were kind of alluding to I think we're gonna have some opening, based on the show or whatever. And I was expecting you to do something from Red, being you dumb token, or something like that.
No, I thought about going through and looking for a good, memorable monologue, but I couldn't think of any, and I didn't have the time to go back through and dig one out. Yep. And then I thought, well, I'll just go and before I started rewatching the episodes, I was like, I'll do the theme song, but talk it like you did in the last episode, and maybe I'll change it up a little bit. Well, I was watching the pilot episode, and the subsequent episodes, and they ran the theme song, and I'm like, this is really short, and really I don't need to change anything. It fits perfectly. In fact, this could be the opening theme song to our show if we really wanted it to be. We can steal it. That'd be the perfect theme song for our show, but I don't have the money for the royalties. I don't know if you do or not.
I think Fox would just give it to us for free, right?
You think they might at this point? Maybe. I mean, they did to Netflix. They gave it to Netflix for sure for a song. It seems like, but that's I had the same idea doing the theme song. But it fits. It works.
It's perfect.
I feel like it's our unofficial theme song. It really is. Although the one you wrote is pretty good. I like it. Speaking of the pilot episode, I feel like this show is rare in that the first and the last episode are, in my opinion, near perfect. As far as a pilot and a final episode go, this is what I want. And really, the pilot episode for this is a fantastic pilot episode for a show. It's rare to see a show set up in the way that this show was set up. So superbly. They really identified all the characters, who they are, what their motivations are, so succinctly, and didn't really deviate from that too much as the show progressed. And for that, I mean, to me, the pilot, whenever we talked about rewatching this, and I said, you got to go back and watch at least the pilot episode, because it truly, and I had just rewatched it, and I thought, this really just encapsulates this whole show. Is this, if you haven't seen any of That 70 Show, you at least have to watch the pilot. The pilot really, it just encapsulates the show as a whole. If all this show was a movie based on the pilot, I feel like it could have been a great movie. A better TV show, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we need the time with these characters, but I mean, you really, I mean, they did make this movie. They made this movie. Did you ever see Dazed and Confused?
I was going to say, yep.
I mean, that's basically this movie.
Yep.
This show is Dazed and Confused as a show.
If you haven't seen it, it'd be a lot cooler if you did.
That's right. It would be. All right. So, fantastic job setting the show. The tone for the show, for sure, that first episode.
So, I got to say, this show, and yes, with the pilot, I'm going to get to something in the pilot in a second. But going back and rewatching this show years later, I am still literally laughing out loud at scenes. And the one that really got me from the pilot episode, when they're at the hub, their little hangout place, which I don't think like sticks around for too long, if I remember. But anyway, they're at the hub. Yeah. And does it stick around for a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jackie, I gotta go to the bathroom. Donna's like, fine, she gets up there and she goes, and then Fez is like, I too must use the bathroom, Eric. And Eric's just like, he kind of turns and looks at him. He's like, yeah, guys don't do that, Fez.
Doesn't work that way for guys, Fez.
It's the look that Topher Grace gives it makes that. It's so funny. It's just this, I don't know. You just watch it.
He's like the original Jim, like Jim from The Office. We give those little glances to camera, and Topher Grace had that whenever he was just didn't have dialogue. You just look at his face, and it sold the moment without dialogue. He didn't need it. Like whenever, which was. He steps on the whole, some of the scenes were improvised and what was and wasn't. Few episodes in, he's hanging out on the hood of the car. I think he had just kissed Donna, and Red comes out with the hose and hoses him down, hits him with the water hose, and he flops off the hood of the car, and that look on his face of shock and surprise, but staying in the moment. That was apparently improvised. He didn't know that was going to happen. He told Red, go ahead and grab this hose and hit him with the hose from behind and we won't see it coming. But he stayed in character through it and sold it. And it just, moments like that, it worked. And it's what made the show fantastic for sure. For me, the part that sticks out the most from the beginning, from the first episode, is after they have the first circle. And his parents call him back upstairs, and he's sitting there trying to have this conversation with his parents, and the wallpaper is just rolling, but everything's staying on the wall, nothing's moving, but the wallpaper is rolling. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and it still gets me. And then there's and then it starts turning sideways and tilting around, and they kind of touch on it, and they do it a couple more times here and there, but they didn't. I'm glad that they didn't
overuse it.
They would just hit on it every great once in a while, and it was so fantastic. And it really if you've ever sat in a circle, it encapsulated that experience for sure, and sold that moment, and it just tickled me to this day.
It runs on water, man.
It runs on water, man. There is a car that runs on water. I think there was that. Was it the last episode or something like that? It was they discovered the hydrogen powered car, and he goes, "It is a car that runs on water."
Now that circle. Do you remember the episode they're having a yard sale, and Hyde, I think it's season 2 or 3, and Hyde is selling the special brownies at the yard sale. Certain people come up, and he's he knows which ones to give him. Well, the Pinciottis and Red and Kitty get hold of it. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
that
was fantastic.
So good. That is one of my favorite episodes, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite episode. It's so funny, and the adults.
I can see my lips.
The adults just do such a good job, mimicking that. It's great. Yeah.
That was I think that may have been one of my favorite episodes for sure, just for that part. That or the moment where it's Donna's bachelorette party and they go to the strip club and Casey Kelso's up there dancing, and Kitty is dancing with him, but just mesmerized and just completely committed to the bit. And that's another scene where I'm rolling on the floor every time it happens. It's so funny because Deborah Jo, she commits to the part,
she's
and
so good in that role.
She kills it. She kills
Absolutely.
it. And then that's what we talked about with like that 90s show. That's what makes it work. Like if you didn't have Red and Kitty there, that show would not work.
No.
It just would not work.
Not at
Like
all.
you couldn't make it work without them. And they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite parent couple
Yeah.
on TV, and the love that they have for one another, it comes through.
Yep.
And you really buy that they are a couple that have been together and have been through it and are going to be together through thick and thin. And I love them two together.
Yeah.
I like seeing them together.
Every scene that they're in together is just it's great. I love it.
Absolutely. Yes.
You were talking about Casey Kelso, and that
Yeah.
I had a note on here of just all the guest stars. There were so many guest stars on this show.
So many.
But yeah, Luke Wilson was in there, and I was just going to run down some of the notable ones. Of course,
All right.
Tommy Chong, of course. Leo is such a great recurring character.
Yes.
And I'm glad that they had brought him back for like one episode of that 70s show. He had rented a movie or something like that. Of that 90s show.
The 90s show,
And
yeah.
there was like a movie that was like, they were trying to rent a movie or something, and he was the one that had rented it, and it had been out for a super long time. I don't know. They go to his house, and it's just, he's, fried. Tommy Chong, Brooke Shields, Seth Green, Jessica Simpson was in there, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Alice Hannigan, Luke Wilson, of course. Bruce Willis was on an episode.
Yeah.
Betty White.
Yeah.
Betty White was
fantastic.
Yeah. And yes. Just had so many great
Yes.
actors and actresses on this show. It was just
We had Pam from The Office was on there.
Was she on an episode?
Yeah, she was on an episode. She played like a debutante or something like that. That what's her name? Really looked up to.
Jackie.
Jackie. Thank you. Yes. It's been a long day.
It's late. Yeah.
Yes, she played like a debutante that Jackie really looked up to, and but she ended up being kind of a jerk. But yeah, she was in it. And what's his name? Stanley was in an episode too. He played like a janitor at the concert.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to think who else, if there was anybody else that was in it from
The Office.
I don't think so. I think that was all of them. I think that was all of them. But yeah, they had a lot of good cameos throughout the show, the seasons, for sure. Yeah,
I think that to me that's like the ultimate compliment. I think for a show when you start getting actors that are requesting bit roles in your show, it's taken off.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That. Who was probably your favorite guest star out of all of them?
Oh, I mean, it's Tommy Chong. I know he's more recurring, I guess, than a guest star. But every scene that Leo's in is when they've got that photo booth. Fantastic. And like they're not even really doing anything in the photo booth.
Photo hub, man.
It's just he doesn't do anything, and he's hanging out with, which I guess at this point they're not in high school really, but they're still like 19, 20-year-old kids, and he's some 55, 60-year-old burnout, and he's just hanging out with them. It's great. Yeah,
I like his brother was. The guy from Home Improvement.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
And he's just like, or he's his cousin or whatever. He's like, my cousin may be a burnout, but I'm straight and narrow. I'm a good carpenter or whatever. And they hire him to be a carpenter to like fix up the basement or something like that. And then they end up bringing him into the circle, and he just ends up burning out too. And Kitty and Red come down, and they're like, you didn't do anything in the basement. He's like, I did. Everything's 2 inches to the left, man.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're fired. That was fantastic.
Yeah. So was that your favorite one, or did you?
No, I think Mitch Hedberg was probably my favorite. Just like, that was, he's like, I did not lose a leg in Vietnam to serve you guys French fries. I'm like, dude, you didn't lose a leg in Vietnam. He's like, I know, I did not lose a leg in Vietnam to serve you French fries or whatever it was. It's classic Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
He's probably one of my favorite comedians, and it was just great to see him in there.
Yeah.
And a great little side role.
Yeah.
But that's probably my favorite, was watching him come on there. Still kills me. Why do they continue to hang out in Eric's basement when Eric's not around? Like the last season, Eric's in Africa.
Well, Hyde's living there though.
Is Hyde still living there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But even
in like season 1, Hyde's not living there, and there are times whenever they're all hanging out there and Eric's somewhere else.
I think it's one of those things that it's where they're comfortable at, and I think that I like to think that Kitty and Red are just like, well,
it's better here than on the street,
or whatever.
I think Kitty more than Red. I think Red wants
Red's
him out.
always wanting, Red's. Why are there neighborhood? What's he say one episode? Like, why are there so many kids in this house?
Yes.
So
there's always some neighborhood kid. Yeah.
All right. So growing up, I'm not talking about rewatching it now as a 40-something-year-old man. But growing up watching this, Jackie or Donna?
You growing up watching it, Jackie?
Jackie. Donna was. I've always been a sucker for redheads, and I didn't marry.
Everybody was a sucker for Donna. I get it.
Mindy she's always like, "Well, you didn't marry one." I'm like, you can color your hair. No.
No, yeah, I get the redhead thing totally, but yeah, it was always everybody else was like, Donna, this and that and the other. I'm like, I guess, but like, for me it was always Jackie, and it still is. But that's just me.
you and my friend Leif would get along well then, because I had a note here, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but when we shared an apartment together for several years, and he had a Facebook campaign to snatch a date with Mila Kunis. a very ambitious campaign, which did not succeed, but he really, really tried. He was wanting a date with Mila so bad.
Is it still alive?
I doubt it. Leif's married now. I doubt that that's still up there.
I had to dig through the archives and see if you can embarrass him a little.
Yeah.
So, I was watching, we talked about that 90s show, which they just started maybe a year or two ago. Really, if they started this now, if they started this in the next year or two, which that 90s, when they started that 90s show, it's kind of fell between, but it would be that 2000 show.
Yeah, it would. It'd be
like the time gap.
It would be like that
2000 show.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Which they really should have made it that 2000 show. They should have made it that millennial show.
Yeah,
and had Leia be born first year millennial, 80, 81, something like that. And because I guess that's kind of how they have it. Is she's supposed to be I don't know, because they don't really establish a year or anything. It's always vague 90s, and she's vague 15, 16 or whatever it is. But no, that's just I think they should have done it as a early 2000, call it millennial, and then you can kind of cross late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
But that was a little gripe I had with it. That I thought should be pointed out. Somebody should say it. I'm going to say it.
You're going to say it here first.
That's right. But the show is really timeless. It really is. Watching it whenever it came on, I didn't feel like I was watching a show set in the 70s. I just kind of felt like I was watching some Midwest kids hang out and, do silly stuff that most of us do to some extent growing up, like hanging out on water towers or bridges or wherever you hang out. And, with your friends, like at that age, you've got like a core group of friends, like 4 or 5 friends that, you're seeing on a regular basis, like daily, if not at least weekly, however often you go and hang out with your friends. And, you spend your high school and post high school time with them until you kind of, drift apart and life happens. And, hopefully you get to reconnect every so often. But that's just kind of like, it was a perfect encapsulation of that spirit. And, do you know what the show was originally going to be titled?
No.
Teenage Wasteland.
Oh, I
based
have
on
heard
the song.
that. I have heard that. Yeah.
They were going to actually use the song, get the rights to the song, and use the song. And during, I guess, pre-production or whatever, somebody was like, let's not tie it to the song. Let's come up with something. And then they kept calling it the 70s show, colloquially or whatever. And
placeholder.
Finally, they were like, let's just call it that.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah.
You can kind of keep it vague, and which they really did keep it vague. Like the first episode, I want to say the title card said something like 1976 or like 1975. It was like mid 70s. 76, yeah. Everything happened over those 8 years in 4. Because we know the final episode, the final second, they're counting down to midnight before 1980. So this is a 4-year span. Yeah. Everything happening in like 4, maybe slightly over 4 years. But that first season, there's some time jumping going on, I believe, between and I think that's kind of like, that's part of what they're saying with it in they're in the circle all the time. So your memory gets a little foggy, a little hazy. You can't really remember the exact timeline of events. And so I think they kind of play with that throughout the series. And I think each season is really like 6 months of time. And so you'll go through 2 seasons before we pass through a full year, it seems like. And whenever you think about it like that, the time dilation, the trick it plays with time makes sense. And you can kind of operate within that. The only one that throws me is towards the end of the first season, they go and they see Star Wars,
which came out in 77,
which then puts them in 77.
Yeah.
So, but it's the whole time plays with your mind, and you can't remember the exact series of events. But then, in the first episode, they talk about Hyde dating the biker chick, which is an episode that happens later in the season. I think one of the last episodes of the season is Hyde dating the biker chick. So I wonder if you could sit down and rearrange all the episodes and figure out the timeline and put everything in the proper order, or if that is even possible. Is it too jumbled, or could you do that?
I've never really caught that, to be honest with you. So
oh really?
Yeah. Now I
didn't really start a lot of it. I caught the last time.
Okay. Now I do like the little touch that, like you were saying, that they do with that the sticker on the license plate, and how you see that change over time in the opening credits. But the Star Wars thing, what I thought was funny about that was that Kelso is, of all of them, he's the one that's like, oh no, Leia was just kissing Luke for luck. They're siblings. And they're like, no, they're not. No way. There's no way they're siblings. Of course they're siblings.
He's the only one that got it.
Yeah, and I think that's just perfect that they had him be the one that figured that out.
Yeah, because it didn't come out till 81, 82, Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah. I think it was...
Or Return of the Jedi?
81, Empire.
Jedi?
Empire,
yeah. I can't ever keep the name straight. 2, 3, and then
80.
they don't even give me the right number. You know what? That's a whole nother episode.
Somebody's going to be screaming in the comments about fans of the movies, but we're not fans of the dates.
Yeah. That's not for me to keep up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started out the episode saying that it was the perfect pilot and the perfect final episode because that ending it in 1980.
Yep.
Well, the last second of 1979. It's just like I haven't seen an ending to a show like that. That just like put the perfect button on it. Like that was just like in my opinion, the perfect little closing bell on an episode. Because it didn't step into 1980. They were just like 3, 2, 1 and black, and then it's over. Yeah. Like we're not in 1980. It's just the
show.
very last second. That 70s show. That's right. Yeah. And then we got the 80s show, and it kind of ruined it. But that's for after.
But something that and I thought about this before, but rewatching it again, especially this just recently, Eric is 17 in the pilot episode, right?
Is he 17? I thought he was 16.
He's 17 because they're doing his 17th birthday party, or maybe that's the next episode then. But anyway, regardless, in 1976 he turns 17.
Yeah.
So he is the same age as our father, and so I'm like watching this now through the lens of like, I wonder if our dad was doing stuff like this, like as he was growing up, like not necessarily all the, the medicinal use.
Hijinks.
But I mean, just like you can look at that as almost a time capsule of, this is how culture was back then. And like our father was this age while all this was going on. So was he sort of experiencing kind of this? Because I'm sure, writers pull from experience. I'm sure some of the writers, were that age at the time. And yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to me to watch it with a lens like that. So.
Well, I can answer to maybe shine a little light on it. I had asked my mom long ago, years ago, how they met and how that came about. And they actually met at like a party, like with mutual friends, like hanging out. And very much so a situation like this, just like hanging out, like two mutual friend groups just came together and that's how they met. And so, yeah, just guy hanging out with friends, probably, maybe partying a little on the weekends or whatever that entailed at the time for them. But yeah, cruising around, listening to music. Like we know he had good taste in music, but yeah. So I guarantee this is not exactly close.
Our dad was not Eric
experience.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I thought
it could have been. I guess
maybe so. I don't remember our grandpa being like red, but
no. Yeah. But then again, I mean, I feel like we don't see our grandparents through the same lens that we see our parents.
That's true.
Just like our parents don't see their parents through the same lens that we do. So they had a very different experience growing up, and like we had very different experiences growing up with those same people. And like we don't know what that was like growing up. Like, what kind of relationship they had. We can hear stories for sure, and we can hear recounts, but to be in the moment, to catch that, to watch it like a TV show, like we'll never have that experience. We'll never experience them in that same way. But we experience everybody in the way that we experience them, and well, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll move on.
But so did you like rewatching this again? I know last episode we talked about, I asked you if your favorite character changed or whatever. So I'm viewing it, like I just said, through the lens of like, okay, this is kind of how Dad was living. are you viewing this through a different lens, watching it now, like having more life experience, seeing it a different way? I know it's a sitcom. Like, it's not like we're like, trying to look really,
it's not high art.
Yeah, like deep into depth with it. But I feel like, with everything else we've watched, I see it through a different lens than I did when I was young.
Yeah, definitely than I did. I mean, at the time, whenever I first started watching it, 100% like you're talking about, like I viewed it through the lens of like, man, this is probably like what my parents went through growing up. Like this guy's I am about his age now. And this is about the same age that my parents would have been at this time. And so, yeah, I very much so had that same thought process upon early viewings. Like, this is like watching my parents grow up. Well, not exactly, but to some extent. And now watching it again, I look back on it and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, man, this reminds me so much of just like hanging out with my friends. And I get that nostalgia from it because, like you said, we hung out and we watched this show and had conversations, played games, did whatever else while it's on because we've seen it so many times before. So it just kind of became one of those things that we would put on while we hung out. Like sometimes we put on music, sometimes we put on shows, sometimes we put on movies. Whatever. Like that's just kind of like what we did. And so yeah, this reminds me very much so of just like of those times at that age, in high school and just after high school, hanging out with my friends, cruising around, hanging out at people's apartments, whatever. And now watching it, that's how I feel. Yeah, you the same? I'm similar or something.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm viewing it a certain way in regards to my parents, but yeah, I mean, I'm also getting a lot of nostalgic hits watching it, and not just for the show itself, not just watching the show and be like, oh, I remember when I was watching this, and it's the actions of what they're doing, and it is causing me to connect my thoughts with old memories that I had that are similar to the situations that are in there, like cruising around, like going to my first kegger, like just doing stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, like it hits me nostalgically differently. Like I think the first time I'm watching it growing up when I was in high school, I was watching it and I'm like, oh, I feel nostalgic watching this. But it's
almost anthropological. You're like, ooh, this is like the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a time capsule of the 70s.
Yeah, like I'm feeling nostalgic because they're presenting it in a nostalgic way, and the show's doing a really good job of making it, But having grown up and having more life experience since then, and now I can feel nostalgic for it because I can connect to it on an emotional level of, oh, wow, this is... Yeah, I know exactly what they're feeling. I know exactly what they're going through because I've been in that exact situation, or I've been in a situation very similar to that. Man, we're getting really deep with that 70s show. it's okay.
That's what we got. That's what we went long for.
Yeah,
We're going to get deep.
That's right.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch The Ranch on Netflix?
I have not watched that. I have heard good things about it, but I have not watched it.
You should, if you've enjoyed that 70s show, you should watch The Ranch. It's, Ashton Kutcher and
Danny Masterson.
The other one, Danny Masterson, and then they have cameos from the cast.
Oh, did they really?
Red comes on and Kitty comes on, and they play different characters and stuff. But and then what's his name? Elliot.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, thank you. Kept wanting to say Billy Elliot, and I'm like, that is definitely not who that is. Sam Elliott is fantastic on it too, and it's a great show and a good like father. It's not the same, similar father son dynamic, but a little more. The love is buried a little deeper, I will say, on The Ranch, but. it's a good one. It's worth checking out, and it'll kind of like if when you enjoyed that '70s show, you'll enjoy it. I think, and it's a good run. I enjoyed it very much. Watched it a couple times, but that one I always feel like the two of them go like. After I get done watching that '70s show this time through, I'll probably watch The Ranch again because, yeah, they work very similar for me in that vein. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because they both have Ashton Kutcher in it.
Is it the same creators? I wonder. I mean, we don't need to look it
Maybe?
up, but I'm curious. I wonder.
No, I don't know.
To look it up and see.
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure Ashton had a lot. Like he was a producer on it.
Okay.
I think he had a lot to do with it. Actually, I think he might have wrote some of it. I don't remember exactly, or he may have at least come up with the idea or something, or found it and like brought it to Netflix. Or I think he had a lot to do with the back end of it, getting it made and getting it going and everything. Yeah. And but yeah, that's. I enjoyed that one. There was, all the Danny Masterson stuff happened kind of like while they were in the middle of the show, so they deal with that. But
because he did.
What are you gonna do about that?
I mean, he had to depart the show in the middle of it, didn't he? Was that? Yeah.
Yeah, like I think halfway through, like the whole show, like I think they went half the show without him afterwards, but it worked.
Yeah, that was such a man.
It wasn't as bad as losing Eric.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric was rough.
It's always
to lose, but,
yeah, that was a hard one to walk out. That was a hard one to. It just you can't lose your main character like that and keep going. It just doesn't work. But every time something like this happens with one of these actors, they've been abusive or whatever.
Yeah.
And then these things come to light. It's like,
I know,
man.
It's so hard.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. Like I felt this,
and it ruins it.
Oh, it does. It does. It makes it like now when I'm watching that '70s show, like I said in the last episode, I can enjoy. I feel like I can still enjoy the character of Hyde because the character is not the actor. Like it's a different thing, but it's still in my mind when I'm watching it. I'm like, gosh. That guy's like
that guy.
That guy did some bad stuff, and he's like 30 years to life in prison now. And I'm just like,
I don't want to root for his character, but
what a waste of I don't know, like not rightfully deserves what he's got. But,
absolutely.
It's just, and I feel the same, like in the same vein of when I go back and I watched the Cosby Show. Like I love the Cosby Show. But now you're like...
Can't watch it now.
Gosh darn, like, what are you guys doing stuff like that?
You have everything, the world at your fingertips, and you're going to throw it all away for a few moments that you just can't control it or whatever. But the rest of us are out here living our life, getting by without having to be jerks about it. Why can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
But anyways...
So, did you have any if you'd go back and watch like one episode? You had one episode you'd watch.
To pick an episode to go back and watch? Oh man, that's kind of a hard one.
It is. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, there's so many good ones to pick from.
I'm hitting you on the spot.
And it's just like I don't know that I'm gonna go with the pilot.
Yeah.
Like if I got to put it on, and it's been a while, and I'm not in the middle. Okay, if I'm in the middle of rewatching it, it's whatever the next episode is. But if it's just like it's been a while and I haven't rewatched it in some time, start with the pilot.
Yeah.
Like that'll be the first one I throw on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start in the middle of any. Like there are some shows where I go to rewatch them, I'll skip the first season.
Yeah.
Or maybe the first few episodes. But this is one where I come in on the first episode. Like the pilot is where I'm going to start at. And if it's been a while, I'm going to start with the pilot.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, that's probably the safe bet to say. No, like no offense. I don't mean it like that. But rewatching the last couple episodes, rewatching the first season like I've been doing. Of course, this is subject change because it has been years since I've watched this show, and I'm just getting back into watching it again. loved it while it was on, but rewatching it now, probably for this specific scene, I think it's episode 2. Yeah, it's episode 2 when they're having Eric's birthday party, and they leave. The adults leave, and they go over to the Pensiotis, and Kitty's like all stressed out. She's like, "We can't leave those kids alone. Like it's his birthday." And and Red, is like, he doesn't want anybody to be here on his birthday. He didn't want a party, but you had to throw him a party. And then Kitty goes into this whole like made up scene in her head, and then you're seeing this scene play out, and they're all like in the living room, and they're like, now that the parents are gone, we can be as bad as we want. And it's Kitty's voice. It's
coasters on the tables.
And it hides like swirling the coaster. and it's Kitty's voice, but like, you see their mouths moving. And then Fez is like,
not the littlest
hobo. And Fez is like, I need chips. What? No chips. I must shoot something. And it's
in my country of wherever it is I'm from.
And they did that a couple times in the first season. Like they'll have
with different characters.
Yeah, and it's I guess the kids are talking about with the adults, and they're like, it's when they're trying to go to the concert, I think, and they're like, the adults are doing whatever, and your parents are gonna, our parents talk. That's what it is. And then it shows them at the party, and they're like, "Boy, Red,
blah blah blah,
yeah, blah blah blah." And you know that you remember that your kids went to this concert and went out of town after you specifically told them not to. It's
that's so and so. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that a lot. Like I don't know. It's just so funny. The whole show is funny.
Okay. I'm changing my answer. Okay. You reminded me of it. It's the episode where Kitty and Red spend the entire episode, and Kitty's mad at Red because he can't remember how they first met. And he tells the story one way, and then she tells the story a different way. Yeah. And they keep coming back and forth. And she's like, I can't believe you can't remember how we met. And she's giving him a hard time and so on and so on. And then they have that moment whenever they both remember, oh, wait, it actually happened this way. Like, they were both kind of foolish, and they both, like, go over, like, how they actually... And then they have that aha moment, and they're like, oh, and it's just like, their relationship. It really, like... I just love that episode. That's probably one of my favorite episodes, and I like it for that, especially like the flashbacks with, younger Kitty and like younger Red and everything, and like he's telling the story and he's coming off all like strong and handsome, and he's got the smile with like the bling on the teeth, and then she tells the story and she's like all like prim and proper, and she's like, she's not getting into trouble, and she's being really nice, but she's kind of being cute, and so on and so forth. But then, like, the actual story is they're both kind of a little bit of a mix of both. And
Kitty was like drinking or something, I think.
Yeah, she was having some drinks, and she was being a little foolish, and he was too, and he was mooning the girls, and it was a whole thing. Yeah, but that was probably my favorite episode. Now, I think it's just for them too, because they're probably like you said, now watching the show, Red's my favorite character.
Yeah, Eric's the face of the show, I feel like, and Red and Kitty are really kind of the heartbeat that keep it, like you're saying, because without them, that '90s show is gone.
It's that 80s show again.
Yeah, and definitely two integral parts of the series. Well, that tapped out on that 70s show. Yeah, gosh, it's been fun talking about it though. Yeah, let us know what you all think. Throw your comments. Tell us what your favorite episodes are. What your favorite character is. Tell us if you hate the series and why. Tell us if you love the series.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear from you. There's just because we like it doesn't mean you have to like it, and that's all right. So that's
right. You want to tell them what we're watching next week?
Yeah, next week. Oh, You can see the video. You can see my hands. If you're just listening, I'm rubbing my hands together.
You can hear it.
My favorite movie of all time, Back to the Future. We're going to be talking about Back to the Future.
Yes.
Oh, now my dog's whining outside.
That's right.
He heard it. He heard it, and he's getting excited. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Back to the Future. So looking forward to that. And yeah. So
We've waited. We've held it off just for this because we're coming close to Back to the Future Day.
we have. Yeah. Yep. It's getting close, and man, yeah, it's gonna be good. I may even pull out like my Funko Pops and stuff just to show them off.
Set them behind you.
Yeah, set it behind me or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah,
There you go.
we're going to be doing that, and hope to see you there. And with that, we have reached another checkpoint. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. Leave us reviews, like we were telling you earlier. We'll send you a sticker. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Until next time, be kind and rewind.
See y'all around.
This podcast takes tokens is a Clay Street production.
All right. Well, before we wrap up the show, we have our cold open question that we got to address, as well as a few more reviews to read over. Cold open question, if you remember, is that blank show starring which two characters? Take that 70s show, any two characters, and pick the decade and pitch your show. What do you got?
Well, it'd have to be like that 50s show and just seeing.
Oh, you stole
I
mine.
know. Well, what else are you gonna pick? Really? I mean,
No.
like my other thought was you could do that token show. No pun intended with the show, but you could have Tommy Chong. You have Leo, but I'm trying to think of who else you would have. Like that was my other thing. Like who else would I guess maybe you could have. I don't know. Would Hyde be in there? I don't know. Like
No, I don't know.
it could be like after the fact of a sequel series or a series, so to speak. But
Spin-off series.
yeah.
Yeah, that 50s show, Red and Kitty getting married and starting a family. That was my thought too.
Yeah.
That 50, I want to see that now. That's the show I want to see. That 50s show, Red and Kitty.
But you have to keep
Let's make it happen.
Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp. Like,
No, I think you got to recast it.
oh no. I think that would be the funny thing. That would be the gimmick for it.
But
like it's still them playing their
they could play they could play their grandparents or
Oh, there
something.
you go. Yeah.
Or you could do it like the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
Where they're telling the story.
Oh, sure.
And it's just the two of
Yeah.
them like over narrating it
Yeah.
back and forth,
Yeah.
like telling the story. Like, I remember it this way, I remember it that way, like, oh man, I think we're onto something. Hollywood, give us a call.
Yes, please. Yeah.
That 70s show. Big that 50s show.
50s show.
Yeah, I could do that. Because that'd be perfect. Because I think, I'm sure Eric was born in
59.
probably like 59 or 60. Well, probably like 59, 60, yeah. Or at least, it could end with them finding out that they were going to have a kid.
Yeah.
The
I
second
mean,
kid,
Lori. I think Lori's a few years older than them, than him, but still.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, you spend a couple seasons. They're newlyweds. They buy the house. Then you spend a couple more seasons. They have the first kid. Yeah. Pinciotti's had them because then Donna had a sister
That's
that
the
disappeared.
thing. Donna did have a sister, but I think they had her in the fourth episode or something, and they mentioned her a couple times, and then she just vanishes. Which is some series do that. I guess
She was like a younger sister too. Yeah, just disappeared. But we could do. I think you could do that 80s show, but you do it with Fez, and you set it in Miami, and he's, I don't know, he's not a waiter, a cabana boy,
yeah.
big resort something, and you have shenanigans ensue from that. He's manager of a resort or something like that. Yeah, I think we could do that, or we could do that '90s show, but this time let's do it from the perspective of a on again, off again, rocky marriage between Kelso and Jackie. And
they do hit on that in that '90s show. I don't know if you've seen that. In the
yeah.
Remarried,
one of the first episodes. Yeah, that's the show. Yeah.
I bet they would be. I bet Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis would be down for doing something like that.
Maybe, yeah. Well, all right, let's roll right into our comments. Not reviews, our comments. YouTube, Remember the Titans. Dustin Foster, 84, 89, writes, "Hey, good episode. I remember watching this movie a lot growing up. Even though I was never the biggest football fan, the soundtrack was really good, and to add to the list of movies with great soundtracks, I'd suggest A Knight's Tale to also having a great soundtrack. I hope you guys cover that one someday. It's a fantastic Heath Ledger movie with an awesome cast in Alan Tudyk and Paul Bentley. I have never seen that movie."
That's surprising to me. Yeah, I used to watch that a lot.
I've never seen it. Really?
Yeah.
No, I never saw it.
My mom would even get into that with me. Like she'd watch it with me.
And that one was like, it was, if I remember the trailer, it had like modern music, but it was set in like, knights.
Yeah.
1600s or something like that. Medieval times. That's what I was going for. Did they play the music throughout the movie like that?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It takes some getting used to. It's a little strange, but it works for the movie.
All right. Well, we could put that on the. I think I did. I added it to our list of movies to watch, and I think we're going to implement a new category. We have our general categories: movies, video games, TV shows, music, comics, life, and stuff I missed. I think we need a new category that is listener suggestions.
Yeah.
And this is things that maybe we've missed or aren't talking about that you want to hear. Yeah. So send us in some listener suggestions. We're going to throw them on the list. We may not get to them right away, but they are on our list and they will be on our radar. Knight's Tale is on there, and I'm starting that new category of listener suggestions. And if we get enough of them, we may make that just like a bi-monthly episode where we cover a listener suggestion every other month or something, depending on how many we get. Moving on, Will Ford 81 again gave us another comment on our YouTube episode, The Mask. He says, "I completely agree with you guys on this one. As a kid, I love this movie. Seeing Jim as a live-action cartoon was really fun. I would say remains the biggest reason to see it today if you have not. That and Cameron Diaz was definitely not unattractive." However, I rewatched the film a few years back, and there were more too many cringe-inducing moments. And Stanley wasn't a likable character as the Mask. He was simply less awful than the villain of the movie.
That's so true.
And the scene with the mufflers was enough for me to not want to show this movie to any of my kids. As for my favorite Jim Carrey movies, you guys touched on them both. I think Man on the Moon is Jim's best performance, while The Truman Show is definitely one of my favorite movies. He is an incredibly talented actor. I would agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. That Man on the Moon was one of his best performances, and Truman Show was just a great movie. Through and through, start to end, it was a great movie.
Yeah. There's another one that I don't remember if I mentioned it. It's been a while since we recorded the episode. I don't remember if I mentioned it. I think somebody mentioned it in the comments. Was The Majestic, another really
Majestic,
good one that
yes.
he's in. That it's a
You
drama.
did. You did
I
mention it
Okay,
during the
yeah,
episode.
Yeah. That was.
Yeah.
That was good.
And it was mentioned in the comments by somebody else. But yes, that was another great one. I've only seen that one a couple times. I should add that one to the list. We can go back and watch that one again because I'm with you. That was a good one. Moving on to our Raiders of the Lost Ark episode. CZAR4. I'm not exactly
I think it's
sure how to pronounce
I think it's
that one.
Czar.
You got it?
Like
Okay.
a czar.
Oh, yeah, czar.
Yeah.
ZAR 4. Okay. ZAR 4. In response to the icebreaker question, says, what prop would you want from this movie? The Ark prop itself. Of course.
Of course.
I mean, if you're picking a prop from the movie, that is probably, that or the fedora, that's got to be one of the top ones.
Yeah.
I would agree.
You have the
but
space
I
in your
forgot
house
what I
to
said.
showcase it, right?
Yeah. I think I said the book.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
what I picked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't remember. What'd you pick? I can't remember.
Maybe it was the whip.
Maybe the
I
fedora?
think.
The whip?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was the whip. Yeah.
The Ark, though, that's a good one, too. Yeah, that's for sure. I don't know where you'd put it. That's pretty big. Maybe a coffee table. Just put like a glass top on it. You got a nice little coffee table. But, I don't know. That's kind of big.
Invite some Nazis over and ask them to open it up.
That's right. We're all going to take turns.
Yeah.
You go first.
Yes.
Well, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, get yourself a sticker.
Yeah.
Check the show notes for the details, or rewind back to the beginning. And until next week, my friends, we're gonna hit 88 miles an hour, and we'll see you there.
Yeah. We'll see.
Next week or
Next.
last week?
Oh.
I guess it depends on when you're listening to this episode.
You may be hearing this in 1955.
From the future.
I don't know.
From 1985? 2015. No, I don't know. Wait, no, it's the first one.
We'll see you in time somewhere.
Out of time.
Out of time. Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you then.
See y'all later.